Return of the Jedi is definitely the weakest entry in the original Star Wars trilogy. However, it's not a bad movie. There are just some missed opportunities in the execution of the story.
Actually, there really is no story when you really think about it. The movie is just a bunch of loose ends being tied up. Here we have the rescue of Han Solo, the final acceptance of Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's father, and the final battle which would bring on the New Republic. And that's it! That's the plot points outline of Return of the Jedi. 3 stories wrapped into one film. In fact, Lucas could have made all 3 of those storylines, plus probably one involving Luke almost going to the dark side, into separate films, and we could have had the 9-film saga that we were promised back in 1984. Lucas would have been richer, and probably, and this is a big maybe, Episode 1 would not have sucked as much as it did because 1, Lucas would have had more practice with story structure since he would be constantly writing, and 2, he would have probably gotten Jar Jar out of his system.
Of course, this is all just speculation. In reality, we only have 6 Star Wars films, with 3 of them actually being good. Return of the Jedi, after revisiting it, is just okay. Why? I'll show you. When writing a screenplay, the formula is basically having a 3-act story arc. In other words, a beginning, a middle, and an end. When writing a 120-page screenplay, the beginning, better known as Act 1, is about 15 to 20 pages. The middle, Act 2, is between 80 to 85 pages. And the end, Act 3, will be the final 20 pages.
When it came to Return of the Jedi, Lucas theoretically had 20 pages to stretch out into a 120-page screenplay. So because of this, we have a 40-minute sequence involving the rescue of Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt. Then Luke would return to Yoda just in time to see him die and tell him that yes, Darth Vader is his father and...
There is another
Then we go and receive the mission from the Rebel Alliance. Lando, who I guess redeemed himself for double-crossing Han and Leia in Bespin, gets to lead the Rebel Alliance on the final attack of the Death Star, who just happens to have the Emperor on board to oversee the finishing touches of the construction of the new Death Star, and Han and friends lead the ground assault to take out the energy shield that happens to be generated on Endor. So then we go to Endor, and Luke feels Vader's presence on Endor, so he seeks Vader out. Then they go up to the Death Star and meet the Emperor and fight while everyone else fights. Vader redeems himself as Anakin Skywalker by saving his son from the Emperor. The Death Star blows up, Anakin Skywalker dies, and the freedom in the galaxy begins. That's the story. Yet it's spread out into 136 minutes of film time. And while there are some great dramatic moments in the film, when you compare it to Empire Strikes Back or even Revenge of the Sith, it pales in comparison. However, it is still a very entertaining film, and whenever I watch it, I'm satisfied.
Why? I'll show you.
First of all, the sequence at Jabba's palace is just a joy to watch. This is where all the lessons and special effects that ILM learned in the previous 2 films, plus with Raiders of the Lost Ark, are showcased here. We got puppets, men in rubber suits, stop motion animation, blue screen in daylight, rotoscoping, prosthetic makeup effects, everything except for space fights. And the great thing about this is it's all believable. Why? Because there is atmosphere in the frame. If this was shot any way differently, you would be able to see the rubber and the strings. The biggest achievement is Jabba the Hutt. The character was a huge puppet using 4 men, including a midget, to create the performance, and the end result is amazing. Because of these great achievements in practical special effects, the computer-generated special effects in the special editions, as well as the new prequel trilogy, leave a sour taste in the mouth in comparison. They just don't look right. And it's not that the people at Jim Henson's Creature Shop isn't in business anymore. Why Lucas didn't continue to use them with at least some creatures in the prequels confuses me. The key special effects sequences are still exciting and timeless. Remember, this film was made almost 30 years ago. 30 years! And even though we know how all these sequences are done, they still excite and inspire future effects masters. The speeder bike sequence, the battle on the sail barge, the final space conflict are all just so wonderful to look at. When you think about how much work went into a 3-second shot, especially in the final space battles, especially when you think of the type of technology that was available in 1982, you would probably understand why a shot like 30 TIE fighters coming at you with the Imperial fleet in the background with laser blasts is real movie magic.
So I pointed out what was good about the film. Now let's look at what's bad about the film.
First of all, the direction sucks. Return of the Jedi was directed by Richard Marquand, who was not Lucas's first choice. His first choice, of course, was Steven Spielberg, which would have been a great choice. I feel that if Spielberg was directing, the scene when Luke tells Leia that not only Darth Vader is his father, but her father as well, because guess what? They're brother and sister, would have been so much better. This scene was probably the biggest emotional kicker in the entire series, but as it is with Marquand's direction, it's mainly an afterthought. Spielberg could not be the director of Return of the Jedi because Lucasfilm became a non-union company in 1982. And since Spielberg was a union man and not the ruler of Hollywood as he is now, he couldn't direct. The other directors on Lucas's shortlist before he got Marquand was David Lynch and David Cronenberg, but unfortunately both declined to do other projects like Dune and Videodrome, respectively.
Could you just imagine the Jabba sequence directed by either Cronenberg or David Lynch? I mean, it would just turn out so freaking creepy.
Also, the dialogue sucks. After coming off an emotional high from an Empire Strikes Back with so much story and getting to know the characters, with Return of the Jedi we get...
Luke! Where's Leia?
What, she didn't come back?
I thought she was with you.
We got separated. Hey, we better go look for her.
Take the squad ahead. We'll meet at the shield generator at 0300.
I have to face him.
Why?
He's my father.
Your father?
There's more.
Did Luke Skywalker just turn into a game show host?
Then there's the Ewoks, who before Jar Jar Binks had the biggest outcry from fans wondering what the fuck is Lucas smoking. However, the Ewoks are probably the most three-dimensional characters in this entire film. Here we see them scared, happy, inquisitive, and even when all hell is breaking loose during the final battle, Lucas stops all the action when an Ewok dies and the audience feels empathy for them.
Why was I so hard on you on Ewoks: The Battle for Endor?
When the special editions came out in 1997, I didn't mind most of the changes that were made in Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. However, Return of the Jedi Special Edition is horrible.
And I'll give you 2 words. Lappa neck.
Here's the original version of the scene.
edition.
The new musical number just stops the film in its tracks. Where the original version with the old musical number kept the film going and keeping the pedal to the metal, the Jedi rock sequence with its Blues Brothers-like horn section feels just so out of place.
And don't get me started with the beak that was put on the Sarlacc pit.
Return of the Jedi, while not the perfect Star Wars film, is still more enjoyable than The Phantom Menace. But saying that, a root canal is more enjoyable than The Phantom Menace. For those who enjoy the art of special effects at a time before CGI, a time where creatures looked real because of craftsmanship, where blue screen was used but not to a point where it hurt the actor's performance. It's the weakest of the original Star Wars trilogy, but it's still an enjoyable way to spend a couple of hours.
I'm Zack Scott, and I'll see you on the next Laserdisc Memories.
So I could keep me his child.